What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Stretch 4 podcast. I'm your host, Peter Tran, and on the line I got my pick and pop partner, Josh Cohen. How you doing?
Can't complain, unlike Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, that guy's a crybaby. Banger in the paint. Rajan Walia, how you feeling?
Pretty slow last 4 days. No NBA. It's the lull before everything gets interesting.
4 days? It's been like 2 days since the All-Star game. We're recording on Tuesday night.
Yeah, but there's still going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like, there's too many days.
That's heavy withdrawal, eh?
Yeah, you feel it right away.
Oh, man. Yo, did I tell you know how... So for everyone who obviously doesn't know this, I was in Ottawa last weekend. We played some ball. It was great. I rocked out my new Kobe AD and XTs. And I got massive blisters on my feet because of them. Like, I'm actually hobbling around. It's actually freaking brutal. I was walking on my toes today just so I couldn't put pressure on it. My feet are killing me, man.
But you balled out, man. You hit your shots.
Yeah, ball is life, apparently.
Except for the one where that 6'6" dude, Eddie, blocked you with his left hand without even jumping.
Hey, man, I got possession back, alright? That's all that matters.
Keep telling yourself that.
Dude is 6'6", he's young, he's athletic, he's got all the energy in the world. I'm just out here like going possession to possession, trying to hold my spot.
That was like Sharknado when the sharks like engulfed the plane. That's what that looked like. It was pretty impressive.
I'm glad I contributed to a highlight, man. That's all it is.
Good for you.
So obviously we watched Saturday night festivities together. You had no one picked this guy, but I know I joked around about it, at least called him slow and steady. Domantas Sabonis is our new skills competition champion, guys. How do you feel? How did that happen?
You mean Bam Adebayo?
Is it? No, it was Sabonis.
No, Sabonis made it to the finals, but Bam won out.
Oh, man.
Shows how much you're paying attention.
Oh,
yeah,
you know what
exactly.
the worst part is? On the podcast, I jokingly said Bam, and then it was like, nah, I'm picking Tatum. You guys chose Dinwiddie and Beverly, so obviously we all lost, but... Okay, fine, well, look at Bam.
Yeah,
Yo,
that just shows
nice.
you what the contest is right now. Like, they need to bring it back to the old, at least 3 passes, make a jump shot plus a 3-pointer. Like, it's too easy, but I guess they want the bigs to win something.
I don't know about that. I mean, you still have to make the bounce pass or have the 3 tries and then move on. And Bam was just better than everyone else, so props to him. He's got a lot more skill than a lot of people think.
Yeah, but I think it's more challenging to do 3 passes than just the 1.
He might have still won, though, based on that lineup.
Bam would have had a real chance. But remember how the old one, it was like a chest pass, a bounce pass, and then the outlet pass? Most of the guards weren't able to actually complete the outlet pass because, like, what kind of guard is throwing an outlet pass, right? Those are for bigs. Like, Kevin Love is throwing the outlet pass for you. Not, I don't know, Chris Paul at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the NBA just moved to have it more of a race, like 2 people on the court at the same time, and it's hard to do that with the old format, which was against the clock.
Yeah, I actually love that old format. You saw, like, Darren Williams doing it. Dwayne Wade came on the scene as part of it, too. It was dope.
Yeah,
was much
the
cooler
old
to
ones
see.
were great. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. And then we had the 3-point contest. Can someone refresh me who won that one? Because apparently I'm not trustworthy.
Buddy Horseface Healed.
Horseface Healed. The disrespect, man.
Yeah, the disrespect. This guy can shoot. He's a deserving winner. He shot clutch at the end. He put up a good score. He was against some of the better 3-point shooters in the final round. You know what? He shot well, and congratulations to him. I think that's probably the highlight of the night for me watching the 3-point contest, but we'll get to that.
Wow, that's a hot take. What the hell was that noise?
You know exactly what it was.
You okay there? Woo! Are you transforming?
Is Buddy on the podcast? Woo!
Man, the level of disrespect here.
He's never taken a breath out of his nose.
Yo, he doesn't need to. He's allowed to be a mouth breather if he's that good of a shooter.
I guess so.
It's hard getting around the racks when you're like 40 years old, alright?
I mean, he never shuts his mouth in front of the media either.
No, apparently he showed up to media that morning like mad hungover. Sunglasses on, showed up at like 9:15, hood up, couldn't handle the spotlight, like literal
Was that
spotlight.
Obama's party?
He could have been, yeah.
Probably.
Man. And then, obviously, we got to talk about this dunk competition. I called it. I called my boy, Josh, Derek Jones Jr. Happy birthday to that guy. Beat out
Yeah,
Aaron
you
Gordon.
sure called that, huh, Peter? Dwight Howard.
Yeah, check the tape, man. Derek Jones Jr.
Yeah, if you want to get into it, we can, but the dunk contest overall was, I would say, a pretty good dunk contest. Got to see a lot of dunks, went into a dunk off. But again, if the NBA really wants to take a step forward, they should look to update kind of how they do the scoring and how many dunks these players are doing. And I think if they get that right, then maybe some of the bigger stars are going to be doing some dunks, and hopefully we'll see more good dunk contests to come. But let's just jump into it. I think Aaron Gordon got robbed.
Again. I mean, does he have the 2 best dunks in the history of the dunk contest?
Well,
He definitely has one of them.
He definitely has one of the best dunks. Okay, he's had the best dunks in 2 of the dunk contests that he's participated in. And it's, I would say, almost not even close.
He's had the most 50s of anybody in history.
He also
I think what they have to do is, like, I was watching an old clip of Rex Chapman when he was in the dunk contest, and I saw the score that he got on one of his dunks. It was, like, by decimal point. I think they should bring that back. I'm not exactly sure how it was marked back then, how they actually came up with that, but I think judges should be able to put a decimal point on it. That way there's never a tie in any of the rounds.
Yeah, or especially if there's just 2 people competing, like you can just say who had the better dunk. So like in the final 2, they do 3 dunks, and who had the best 2 dunks.
And get, judges that are not involved with the players that are actually in a dunk competition.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, and maybe not a former teammate. That would kind of help. What if they brought the scoring up to like 100?
Yeah, like I think the whole idea is like the problem with the scoring system is it's 1 to 10, but no one who's not an NBA player is going to give someone an 8 or lower than an 8 for a dunk. So essentially the score is 1, 2, or 3, right? And if they actually made it so that each judge ranks it out of 50, and then they just did the average of that, I think that would be better, because some judges would be like, you know what, that's like a 47. Like, that was a really good dunk. Or like, that was a 50. That was a 50. Someone would be like, no, that's a 49. At least you would have a slight variation. But if everyone's just like, you know what, that's a 10 or a 9 or an 8, there's no 7s, there's no 6s. Like, no one's going to say that, especially if they're like actors or rappers or people who haven't dunked in the last like 30 years. They're going to give them 9s or 10s. So it's really a silly exercise.
Imagine Common coming in and be like, nah, that was like a 5, my man. Like, I'm good. The disrespect that would be.
Yeah, like it's literally like it's a 9 or a 10, pretty much. And
unless you're Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Some TV shows pay people off the street like $50 or whatever to come in and screen their show and like rate it afterwards. Why can't they do that for the dunk contest?
What, just pay to have random judges come in?
Yeah, just like get random people off like Hollywood Boulevard who don't really know basketball and get them to grade the dunks. That way there's no bias at all.
That'd be an awful idea.
The outrage.
What are you talking about?
It's better than what's happening right now.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No. Yeah. You're crazy, man.
The way it should be done, in my opinion, is have 5 players that are current or like have retired in the last like 5-10 years. You can have maybe 1 legend. Have them grade the dunks anonymously out of 100.
I was about to say the same thing too. Like have them in like a whole separate room or area where they're not seen. Like previous dunk competitors, participants in the last 20 years. They can switch it up every year. Nobody ever knows who they are, but they grade on a decimal system. And, at least they have experience in doing so, and they don't have to be outed when they make terrible decisions like Dwayne Wade did.
Yeah, and also when it comes down to two dunkers, just do like who had the better dunk. Like if you're giving two 50s, well, not all 50s are equal. You know, like Aaron Gordon's above the mascot under both of his legs, that was a 50. But that was bigger than any 50 that we saw this past dunk contest, in my opinion.
Yeah, sort of like that. I mean, you can have the 5 judges, and that way there can never be a tie between the two dunks.
Yeah.
And each person holds up a sign saying which person they preferred. And that way it's always 3-2 or whatever it is, 4-1, 5-0.
Yeah.
But then wouldn't you be affected by like recency bias? So say I do a dunk or whoever, like in this case, say Derek Jones Jr. does his dunk first. And then Aaron Gordon takes like 10 minutes to set up his dunk. So he would be the latter, like the person you see last, right?
So you switch turns every time.
You switch turns in the final, and also if you want to do it that way, have them have monitors. You know, if anything, you can say, yeah, there's recency, but there's also pressure. Being that second dunker.
Yeah.
I think that's the better way of doing it, because like at the end of the day, like even though they're giving 49s like or 50s or whatnot, like some dunks are just better than others, and like everyone has different tastes. That's cool, but we have judges. Make them all people who have dunked before as well, please. Like I don't want to see no rappers or I shouldn't be judging the dunk contest because I've never dunked.
Yeah, so you got like either one end of the spectrum or the other. Either total anonymity between the previous dunk participants, or people who just have never seen basketball before being like, "Oh, damn, that was really cool." I want one of the two. I don't want to see Dwayne Wade anymore.
You're tired of D Wade?
Has he ever won or been in a dunk competition? No, get him out of here. Is a Miami Heat in the competition? Yeah, well, still get him out of here.
More so that part.
That was insane.
All right.
Also, one last thing. He was such a Miami homer during the whole broadcast that he was like, I want Bam to win it. I want Duncan Robinson to win it. I want Derek Jones Jr. Like, if you're going to judge the contest, like, at least try to be impartial. At least.
I have two things on that, too. I mean, like, he gave Pat Connaughton an 8 on his second dunk. He was the only person to give him under a 9.
That's
so
absurd.
That caused Connaughton not to go through, obviously, as well. And then after the contest was over, he was playing dumb and basically telling the entire audience that they're a bunch of morons and making it seem like, oh yeah, a few of the judges gave them 9s too, when they clearly had it coordinated to where certain people give 10s and certain people give 9s in order to tie the score and then vote on it. But then at the last second, he switched his vote out. And he's pretending like he didn't do that. I mean, come on, man, we're not that dumb.
And also, like, if you watch the video again, he took off his headset before the scores even came up.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, like he literally had his hand in the headset removing it.
Yeah, and then you can see Candace Parker with her head in her hands, and then Scottie Pippen and Common looking at Dwayne Wade, like, what are you doing? So it's pretty obvious what happened.
Yeah. I also blame the judges for that. Like, how could you not know that Dwayne Wade was going to give his guy a 10? Someone else should have given him a 9 instead.
Seems like a nice guy, though, so...
I think Dwayne Wade stepped in that moment. He's like, no, I'll be the person to give him a 10. Don't worry, guys, I got this. And then he gave them a 9.
I honestly think Aaron Gordon's the people's champ.
We're going to do a different saying. The people's champ, the people, we're going to do a different saying. And it goes like this. Anytime you mess with The Rock, tonight, every night.
Sucks that he lost, and I hope... I enjoyed the dunk contest more so because I enjoyed it as a kid growing up, and it was like a highlight of the night, like it being the last contest. And I just think that if it continues on this path, I think it's going to be something that's not going to exist for much longer, or might end up being like the first or second event of the night.
I disagree. I think that was a great competition, and it got people talking. So maybe conspiracy theory, maybe Adam Silver set up the entire thing.
Maybe, but...
Wow.
Also,
Dwayne Wade is a secret agent.
Yeah, but Zion might not participate. Jaws, like, I'm out. Like, that made my decision easier. Like, you want the best players competing, or the players that have the most excitement around them.
Yeah, but the guys who say that didn't want to compete in the first place. Like, LeBron said he was going to do the dunk contest the next year after, I think it was 2010. And he didn't join for who knows what. He made up an excuse. He changed his excuse like every few months. So those guys don't want to compete because they don't want to lose and they don't want to, have their rep go down.
Yeah, but LeBron is different though. LeBron was never a creative dunker. These young guys are creative. Like John and Zion are both very creative dunkers, right?
No, for
Kinda
sure, but it's not about that. It's more so just about if they lose, then their value and their brand goes down, right? People are gonna be talking about them in a different way.
True.
Yes,
This is true.
especially if they lose to a non-superstar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
imagine losing to Pat Connaughton. Oof.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Sunday night, we got these new rule changes. Each quarter was worth a game. So obviously, whichever team won the quarter, their charity got $100,000, which is obviously a great incentive for everyone to try a bit more. And then the fourth quarter got really intense. To be honest, I watched it on my phone on mute the first time and had to go back to rewatch it. And that took 45 minutes to watch. That was a long fourth quarter with a lot of defense and a lot of foul hunting. A lot of, like, 2 charge calls for Kyle Lowry, which is, I've never seen a charge call in an All-Star game before. That was wild.
You know, I'm going to make a prediction right now. The Elam Ending is going to be implemented in the NBA within 10 years' time. And it's going to start next year when they have the play-in tournament implemented in the NBA. And when they see how great it's doing, eventually the Board of Governors is going to vote on it in, 6-7 years' time and make that the ending to every NBA game.
Do you think so? Like during a regular season game or a playoff
Yes.
game?
It's going to be just the regular ending going forward in less than 10 years.
So,
No, I can see it being a trend. I think for it to become like the regular ending, though, I think that's a bit of a stretch, especially considering the league is more and more heading towards like the playoff importance. So I don't see it being a big change, but I do think like in some situations they might be used like All-Star games, maybe like G League.
Why would you not implement it?
I think the game can end up being very long, especially if you have 2 teams that are fouling a lot. You end up playing a lot more of the foul game then, because you don't have a running clock. So if you know someone's a very poor free throw shooter, you're not going to A, play them, but B, you're just going to foul them and hope they go to the line, miss, and the game gets drawn out a lot.
No, but the game is drawn out right now. The point of the Elam ending is it's not going to be drawn out. I know it ended on free throws this time, but the majority of the time it's not going to end on free throws because teams are not going to want to foul being in the bonus because the game, like the fourth quarter, could be long, potentially. And if it's a blowout, then the game ends earlier. So it seems like a perfect way to, encapsulate what the brand of basketball should be. And that is fast-paced, especially if you take away commercials, too. If you get all the commercials in within the first 3 quarters and then there's no commercials in the fourth, or just timeouts, that'd be incredible.
that's why it's never going to go through. You want to
But
remove
even if there is
commercials?
like there's still going to be less fouling than there is right now, because the last 2 minutes of games right now takes forever, right? Whereas if you're just playing to a number, you can't foul because you're going to be in the bonus and you're just giving away points, and the faster you get to that total, the faster you lose.
It seems like a really extreme rule change for the NBA to go through.
No, for sure, but like what excuses do you have not to do it versus the product that we have right now?
Peter mentioned it. If they had the Elam rule and let's say they instituted it for the whole fourth quarter or 4 minutes left and then the game ended very quickly, well, that's lost sponsorship money for ads. That you're right. Some people won't watch anyways if the game is a blowout, or like if it's like, let's say 100-70 and the team scores the 10 points needed and it finishes very quickly. You're just losing advertising time.
I mean, if we're just talking about advertising time, isn't that a good thing that you can't find any basketball reasons not to do this?
Yeah,
for
I think
basketball reasons.
I think honestly the idea is great, and like I think the whole Elam rule, I heard of it. I think on I think it was The Jump, where they talk about where it came from, and it was some guy who said that the end of basketball games is very drawn out, very long, lots of fouling, and he said the better way to doing it is with like, let's say 4 minutes left in the game, you add 10 to the leading team's total, and you ask both teams to try to get to that total. So that if one team is winning by a lot, they'll just be able to coast and get to that total and the game's over, and you don't have to wait for those extra like 10 minutes of just free throws. And if the game's very close, then both teams are going to really lock down on defense and you're not playing against the clock.
Yeah, I think it would be I love the idea. I love what was a result of it, as in like the hard play for the All-Star game. The idea of having a game winner in every game is so appealing. Like nothing sounds bad about it. It just sounds too good to be true in that sense. In a very simple way of explaining it, I don't think the owners are going to want to do it. I don't think they'll want to change something that they know is going to guarantee them revenue, as in having timed fourth quarters and timed games in total, right? If you change the time of games to become variable, it makes it harder for stadiums to plan their schedules. It makes it harder for TV sponsorships to plan their schedules, for programming before and, well, not before, but after the game, for
but right
for
now the
advertising.
ratings are struggling, right? So if the ratings are struggling and this change that's implemented really helps the revenue by having all this viewership from people that are excited about the new product and the new type of way they're playing basketball, especially in the fourth quarter, not having to wait for all these free throws and timeouts and stoppages in play, then you're bringing in more eyes, and then you can charge more for ads.
Do you really think that that viewership is down because people are bored of the game, or do you think it's down because people are consuming basketball differently? Because people,
both.
You think so?
I think this year specifically, it's the way, obviously people view the game differently, but it's also the fact that, some of the megastars are missing half the year, and a lot of those games were on TNT and ESPN with like Zion versus the Warriors, where both, Zion and Curry and Thompson were not playing.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of both.
I think this year we're missing 4 to 5 of like the top stars in the league, right? Between Curry, Thompson, Durant, Zion, and Kyrie, I'm throwing in there because he's been out most of the year. It's really hard to judge based on this year. But even from the years past, like obviously the ratings have gone down. But that's because people aren't watching live TV as much anymore. People aren't paying for TV like they used to. But that doesn't mean that the league's popularity is down. The league's popularity is still skyrocketing.
Yeah, but the NFL's ratings are still really high, so it means that people are still watching live sports when they're excited about it.
But it's different, though, because NFL's broadcast and NBA's cable, and a lot of people are cord cutting, and even if you cord cut, you can still end up getting ABC or, NBC, CBS, Fox, all of that either free to air, like using an antenna, or using like streaming websites. Like they're actually free because they have to be available to the public, whereas in ESPN is a paid subscription, same with TNT, and I think we're getting into the specifics of like why the ratings are down a bit. But I think overall, like going back to this game, I thought the ending was what made it special, but I also want to give a lot of credit to the players. And I honestly thought the third and the fourth quarter were very good, because I felt the cool thing about this, having this fourth quarter Elam rule is, like at least somewhere in the game, whether it's a second quarter or third quarter, the team that's losing is going to want to close that gap.
Yeah, and honestly, like making it 24 points on top of whatever the score or the winning team's score is at the end of the third quarter, I think just might be something they just use from now on, because, it works. And again, if there's a blowout, the game ends earlier, you go do whatever you want afterwards. So I think either way, it's great.
Yeah, I thought 24 would be a little short, but it actually lasted a lot longer.
They played for a long time. Yeah. I think it was like 45 minutes.
Yeah, man, it was very long.
It was drawn out though, and like I know that there was good defense being played, but I think the game could have ended like 10 minutes earlier had like Giannis's team even shot a little better. Like I think they shot 26% from the field in the fourth quarter. Obviously, a lot of it had to do with good defense. Overall, like it was just fun to see these players compete, and you really never see that happen. You never see that all these all-stars are playing with each other. And I think one cool part is like it was very hard to double someone, because then you're leaving another all-star wide open.
Yeah, classic Coach Nurse here, throwing Kyle Lowry out there for like the entire fourth quarter. I'm just saying.
I like how he also threw Joel Embiid out there for the entire fourth quarter. Yeah. Smart move.
Yeah, I think he genius. I think he also put almost all of the starters minus Trey, and then also I think Vogel did the same thing minus Luka, because Luka and Trey are going to have many all-stars, plus they're huge liabilities on defense.
Yeah, I think Luka is also nursing his injury too. Let the guy get some rest, man. But are we good with the All-Star? We're done here? Everybody likes a new Elam ending. I guarantee it's going to continue for All-Star games. We'll see if it continues into the season at all.
I think they also implemented it now because I think the TV contract's coming up in a year or two. And if they're able to put this in place before that happens, I think you might see more games eventually become on ESPN, or not ESPN, but ABC and NBC, like bigger type, channels and networks, because they can get more eyes, obviously. And if there's a massive excitement going into these games, even on like a random Wednesday night between like Charlotte and Orlando, if you have this Elam rule and these teams are playing down to the wire and playing the last shot, people are going to tune in.
No, they're not.
I think they will, actually. I kind of agree with Josh. I think the interesting part about this, too, is like you see this number, like whether it's 110 points or 130 or whatnot, you see this number and you like see one team slowly get there. I feel that it just incentivizes teams to play a little more defense, because if you can get a few stops, you can like turn the game in your favor.
I think like having shorter games is going to make everybody happier, and having faster games is also going to make everyone happier. I mean, if you can get home in 2 hours instead of 2.5 hours from the game, get home early, be able to go to work next morning instead of like having to leave the game early because, it's 10:30 at night, the game goes into overtime. You have to leave early and half the stadium's gone at that point. And I don't know. I just think that it works every which way you look at it. I mean, even the guys, like the players talking about the free throw ending being an issue, I don't really think that's going to be an issue long term, because you want to see the players in that pressure situation. And even before the foul happens, like, you want to see teams playing good defense, right?
No.
And nobody, you're being penalized.
Nobody wants to see a game end on a free throw. Don't lie to yourself.
No, for sure. But I don't think most games are going to be ending on free throws, because teams are going to do whatever they can not to foul in that situation. Because if the fourth quarters are extended a little bit, like they were in the All-Star game, you're going to be in the bonus, and then you just have to avoid fouling at all costs because you're just giving away free points. So it changes the whole strategy, and there's more involved in the end of the game than there is right now, where you just wrap a guy up and you wait and see if he hits a free throw or not.
You're talking
and then you
like
get
a
the ball
real
back with a certain amount of time on the clock.
You're talking like a real stats nerd right now.
That's the truth, though.
No, it's
faster
not.
Games, more entertaining finishes. That's what we need.
It won't be. It's going to be more drawn out, and people won't.
How can it be more drawn out than it is right now?
It's because they're not going to hit their shots. You were talking to me about how teams are going to play much more intensely and play great defense.
Isn't that what you want to see, though?
I don't want to see defense.
No, but you're going to see like great offense versus great defense, whereas right now, like a lot of the time, the games are just...
No, you're going to see a lot of exhausted players at the end of the game because their coach plays them all the minutes in the fourth quarter because they don't know when it's going to come to an end.
Well, again, that goes into strategy, and I'm sure that different strategy be made out of what the coaches are thinking in that moment, right? Because you're playing a player 25 minutes straight as a starter, like LeBron, for example. You might think to yourself, all right, he needs a blow. I'm going to bring in Jared Dudley for like 2 minutes and then bring LeBron back in afterwards. It's just more interesting.
I'm over it. We need to move to Cleveland. Cleveland is much more interesting, isn't it?
No.
Are you sure?
But this story is, though.
You mean having a coach that's like 67 years old just leave the team isn't interesting? My man is leaving like $12 million on the table, Coach Beilein, just because it's just not a fit. None of the players listened to him. He was never really acknowledged from the very get-go. And the team and him have just agreed to part ways. They're going to bring up JB Bickerstaff to be the interim head coach. Again, it's his second year doing that. He did that at Memphis last year. You'll also recall that last year Cleveland had, who was their interim head coach? I didn't want to be there. Larry Drew. Larry Drew denied the reports that he was going to be the interim head coach, and then he just got forced into the situation. This Cleveland team is an absolute mess. I can't wait to see what JB Bickerstaff does with three bigs.
He should just play them all at the same time.
Why not?
Play Ante Zizic at point guard. He's a better point guard than Colin Sexton anyway.
Nah, Larry Nance.
Now play him a shooting guard.
Yeah, he's probably got a better shot than Colin Sexton.
Yeah, I mean, this team is a total mess. I'm sort of surprised he didn't just play it out and hope that they would fire him so he'd get his full contract. But I guess he's made enough money in the NCAA that, they can part ways and he can go back to college.
He's tired of being around all these thugs.
Slugs, Peter.
No, thugs.
Slugs.
Thugging out Kevin Love. It's absurd. Have you ever seen that before? Like, dude was in the NCAA for how long? Like 40 years? And then randomly, for some reason, gets this promotion. So the story I heard was that during the summer, the Cleveland head office was out conducting interviews with, coaches around the country. And then Dan Gilbert meets with John Beilein for, a couple of hours, conducts his interview, and then just hires him on the spot while the rest of the coaching or the front office is still out conducting their own interviews. That's crazy.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Yeah, I guess the only comparable situation was Rick Pitino, but he lasted 4 years at least. I mean, people think back to him and him in college is a whole different problem than him in the NBA. Because in the NBA, he just couldn't really keep up, and he wanted to be the guy in charge, and everyone knows that the players are ultimately in charge. You can be the greatest coach in the world, but at the end of the day, your star players are going to be the guys that decide a lot of things on the court, and off the court, really. And some coaches that come from college just can't accept that because they were, the be and end all, or the end all be all, from their situation, and they just can't adjust when they get to the NBA. And I think that situation occurred here, where he was trying to implement some old school type coaching, and the players just were not reacting to it, and he just couldn't adjust.
Yeah, I think also just being a college coach, it's a completely different motivational tactics and techniques you have to use, and the man management aspect of that is way different in the collegiate ranks versus the professional. And it's hard to say in this situation, like, if the Cavs overperformed or underperformed. I think they're performing as if they would have normally under any other coach. It's just, I think the issue with Beilein is it kind of seemed like he lost the respect of the players, and it was very difficult for some of their stars who they're paying like hundreds of millions of dollars to, Kevin Love. If he's upset and your young players aren't developing like you would, I think him leaving is the right decision. And especially for the Cavaliers, if he's walking away from the 12 million, you're like, here you go. Like, here's a nice car ride to the airport. Like, enjoy first class, like, go back to Michigan, be done with it, because he's leaving a lot of money on the table.
Yeah, good
I
riddance.
just think that, like, when some coaches just can't take over control of their team, because, in college you can yell at your players, you can do basically whatever you want with them because they're not getting paid, they have zero power, and you have all the power. You can kick kids out of your program if you want to, whereas with the NBA, these guys have guaranteed contracts, and if you're not agreeing with your, especially star players, you're going to be out of there within a year or two, and at least in that situation, you get paid out because you signed a 3 or 4 year deal, and you're the one causing the situation. But I guess Beilein just couldn't take the pressure, and he couldn't adjust to obviously having not a very good team, but he couldn't even create an identity for this team. Like, they're not a good defensive team, obviously. They're one of the worst in the NBA, and then offensively, they're just a slog. So it's just, maybe this is a good direction for them to go in to hopefully get a new coach, which will probably be out in 2021, because the Cavs don't keep their coaches.
Some would say John Beilein is a hero of sorts. He chose his mental health over the money.
He still got paid though for this year, so props to him.
Yeah, he's just leaving $8 million or $12 million, but he still got his 4. Good for him, indeed. All right, next topic. We've got a couple of buyout guys. Finally, some action. Reggie Jackson and the Detroit Pistons are parting ways, and he's already rumored to be going to the Los Angeles Clippers. Decent move. Looks like they just want to fill in some roster space. And then you've got Jeff Green, who was waived earlier in the year, agreeing to sign to your Houston Rockets. He is finally going to be their big man. Yay. They have a 6'8" center now.
And they also signed Damari Carroll as well.
Woo! They have a 6'7" player who's not going to play.
I think he'll play. I mean, I think both those guys are going to play off the bench, and one of them's going to play center, or both. They're really digging into this, and they've really chose a path. And Robert Covington and Jeff Green and Damari Carroll are going to play center in some spots, and they're going to hopefully, they're going to see if this works or not. And it's probably not going to work, but at least they're trying something new.
So optimistic.
I mean, it's awful to watch them. even now with like all the space that they have on the court, Westbrook's super fun to watch now, but Harden's just doing the same thing. And his foul hunting is just impossible to watch.
Yeah, it's funny too because their center they had, like an actual center they had on the roster, Isaiah Hartenstein, I think got sent down to the G League affiliate. So they're really doubling down, but good on Houston. They always seem to be in the buyout market in the last couple of years, picking up players. And I think for these moves were maybe not for the playoffs, but this is just more to keep their players that they will be playing in the playoffs relatively healthy. Like, I think this is just to save PJ Tucker an extra 4 or 5 minutes a game, to save Eric Gordon some minutes, and to get some value out of these players, and they're going all in. So let's see it happen.
Do you guys remember a few years ago when DeMarre Carroll was still with the Raptors and they got PJ Tucker at the deadline to try to stop LeBron? That was the narrative around the Raptors at the time. It was like, oh my God, we got Tucker and Carroll to stop LeBron this year. Like, this is our year. And then LeBron, did LeBron.
Yeah, I think Carroll was picked up in the offseason in 2015, and he was supposed to be some player that would be able to D up against the league's best wing players, and he was a colossal flop for the Raptors. He obviously had his injury troubles, but he was not very good. I think Tucker's getting a bad rep because he was a great Raptor in the 1 year he did play here, and he played hard, was a presence on the court, and he actually did help, but the Raptors obviously couldn't beat LeBron.
Yeah, PJ Tucker played really well for the Raptors, and he actually played LeBron pretty well. It's just he was sort of on his own out there. It wasn't the situation like last year where you had Kawhi on Giannis, but you also had these really good team defenders behind Kawhi to help him out. At that time, you had like DeMar DeRozan out there, and Jonas obviously isn't a great team defender either. I'll admit it, obviously, but in terms of the Rockets, do you guys think they have one of those, when you go to like Wonderland or a theme park and they have those, you have to be this tall to enter this ride? Do you think they have that outside their stadium to where it says, if you are this tall, you cannot enter the basketball court now, which is why they sent down Hardenstein to the G League? So if you're like 6'9" or over, you just can't come on the same court as James Harden and Russell Westbrook anymore.
Yeah, I think they literally put a sign at their door to the locker room to decrease the height.
Yeah, it must be that way. I mean, Tyson Chandler is probably confused right now. They probably sent him off to Siberia or something.
Tyson Chandler probably gets rolled in on a wheelchair.
I think the real reason they put Hartenstein to the G League was because when they do run practice and they run 5-on-5, they need no centers on the court. So both teams are simulating all offense and no defense the way Mike D'Antoni likes it.
So you're wasting our practice space here, man. We can't afford to have you.
Yeah, it's like you're too tall. Like, how are we going to run no center on both teams?
Bring me Jeff Green.
Yeah, in terms of the Jackson move to the Clippers, though, it sort of reminds me of Jeremy Lin last year. To where, people are making a big deal out of this. Oh, the Lakers should have got Jackson because they need somebody to upgrade from Rondo. And then you realize that Jackson's probably going to play a little bit in the regular season to supplement the minutes that Paul George is not playing, or if there's more back-to-backs, Kawhi is not playing, but ultimately he's probably not going to play in the playoffs because they have a pretty solid 10-man rotation, which will probably go down to 8 or 9 as the playoffs go along, because they already have Lou Williams, which is basically their de facto backup point guard, and Shamet's coming off the bench as well once they're healthy. So where is Reggie Jackson going to play minutes? He might play 10 to 12 minutes a game if they need a spark plug if one of those guards is not playing well, but ultimately, like, Pat Beverly's going to play 30 to 34 minutes in the playoffs. Lou Williams going to handle the ball, and Reggie Jackson's not a spot-up guy. So he's only going to be a spark plug type.
He's literally just filling in minutes during the regular season. That's okay. It's a good pickup for the time being.
And they're also keeping away from the Lakers, too, which is a smart move. The same type of idea as why they got Morris, too, even though Morris is a much better player.
I think they're also just preserving some of the minutes from their starters, and they want to give Kawhi rest. PG's probably going to have some health issues in the regular season, and they just need another ball handler, making sure that Lou Williams isn't playing 30, 35 minutes a game, and they're just another body, but come playoff time, they're going to shorten that bench.
All right, let's keep it moving, guys. We're after the All-Star break. We got about 30 games left, and this is when, we really got to see teams come together. So I want you to each give me one thing that you're really looking forward to seeing for the last bit of the season. Josh, why don't you start it off?
For me, it's the Philadelphia 76ers, and if they continue to play Horford off the bench, which I think they're going to do, and I'm still going to keep my prediction that they are going to be in the NBA Finals this year, because they are a team that is built for the playoffs and built to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. And ultimately, like, they have a very tough road based on the seeding right now. They're going to be playing the Bucks in the second round if they make it out of the first round. And then they have to play the winner of the Raptors-Celtics series, most likely, if both those teams make the second round. So they're going to be tested this playoffs if they don't improve their record, which it doesn't really seem like they're going to catch the Raptors or the Celtics at this point. So from this point forward, the thing I'm most looking forward to on their end is not only the Horford thing, but how they play on the road with Horford coming off the bench, because they got to figure that out before the playoffs start, because they're going to be on the road for the majority of the time, if not the entirety of the playoffs. Because if they end up in the 5th or 6th seed, they're not going to have home court advantage ever.
Yeah, they need that. They definitely need that home court.
And I mean, all they have to do is win one game in the playoffs on the road per series, right? Because at home, they're world beaters. They're the greatest team of all time, so...
How is their strength of schedule going forward? Do you know? Like, are they able to rally behind Horford? Because, I mean, if they have, like, an easier schedule, it would make it a lot easier for them to, get behind the idea that Horford's going to come off the bench, that, we can integrate Burks and Glenn Robinson the third, that Embiid and Simmons can finally, like, get a vibe with each other. But if you're going against like a bunch of Milwaukees, a bunch of Lakers, then it's a little bit more difficult.
They've lost to a lot of bad teams while on the road too, so it's not just a matter of having an even easy schedule. They just got to figure out how to play more intensely on the road and play as a team. And they got to figure out like what style of play they're going to play based on who's in the lineup as well. But in terms of strength of schedule, they're middle of the pack. They're 14th.
Okay.
New Orleans is number 1.
Is it too hot to say that Al Horford is a locker room cancer?
A bit too early.
Just a bit, eh? Maybe at the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, if they bow in the first round, which is definitely possible, then who knows what's going to happen.
It sounds like Boston got really lucky by letting him go, man. That guy has not performed at all this year. He looks slow. He just looks sloppy.
I just think it's because of the fit. I think he's still pretty much the same player. Just him playing next to a big guy like Embiid, taking up all that space. It's more difficult for him. Like, he doesn't want to play center, but that's his best position by far, because he gets to be guarded by a guy who's slower than him, and he can take advantage by playing out of the three-point line and either shooting a catch-and-shoot shot or, taking his man off the dribble, because if he's being guarded by power forwards now are like between 6'7" and 6'9" usually, especially the starters. And they're going to be quicker than Horford is, so Horford doesn't really have an advantage against those guys, especially if he just uses a spot-up guy.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. Do you think they actually pull it together? Well, I guess you do because you think they're going to win, but...
I still think they're going to the finals, and I still think they'll have a pretty good chance of winning the championship this year.
Yeah. Raj, do you think they'll pull it together?
I think so. I think there's just too much talent on that team, and they are built for the playoffs.
All right. I hope they do. I'm going to say that they don't, but I hope that they do. I really love watching Embiid.
And hey, if they don't, then you have total chaos in the offseason. In an offseason where we don't think a lot is going to happen because there's not a lot of free agents and a lot of money, if Philadelphia goes out in the first round, then you would think that, Simmons or Embiid is going to get traded, and that becomes a massive storyline.
Yeah, you love your chaos.
Absolutely.
Raj, what are you looking at for the rest of the year?
I'm looking at the 8th seed in the West. I know it's probably not going to matter much come playoff time, but I think that battle is going to be hella fun because you have the Grizzlies, which are a young up-and-coming team that have a lead, and I think they may feel the pressure of some of those games late in the season, and then you obviously have Dame trying to basically drag the Trailblazers into the playoffs this year, and I think it might come down to one game. Like, I think it might be a situation where come the end of the regular season, Memphis might be up one game or back one game. So I'm excited to see that happen. I think Dame is gonna come out firing, as he has been in the last last 7 or 8 games. And
Dame is out though. I think Portland's done.
No, I think he should be back by early next week. That's what I had heard. It was 1 to 2 weeks, and it's already been almost a week now.
Yeah, but you don't want to mess around with that type of injury, because if he comes back early, chances are it's going to happen again with him playing 36 minutes a game. And plus, they're already 6 games out, aren't they? Or 5 games out?
They're 4. I also think Memphis will feel the pressure of being playing later in the year when teams actually are fighting for position and the games are a little closer. I think their inexperience will show.
But they got JV.
Yeah, they have the guaranteed 14 and 8, 14 and 9,
10.
All right, give him the double. Who cares?
His contract is the only thing that cares.
Yeah, I mean, right now, New Orleans has the best strength of schedule, meaning that they have the easiest schedule going forward. And they're also up 2-0 against Memphis so far. They still have 2 games left against them, but they do have the tiebreaker for now. So if, New Orleans is actually able to take advantage of their schedule, which they have in the last, 10 to 15 games with Zion being back, they are a big plus when he's on the court. So if he's able to play 32 minutes a game and, the veterans come through, it's going to be a pretty tight race.
Did you say 32 minutes a game for Zion Williamson?
He's been playing around that the last, 10 games?
No way.
He's been averaging 30.86 or something like that in the last 8 or 9.
Wow, they really increased his minutes that much?
They needed to.
Yeah, Kobe's death definitely was the media story. Yeah, masked it. It's been kind of flying under the radar.
Wow.
I think he's also been averaging 24 points and 8 rebounds.
Over his last 10, he's averaging 22 and 7.5.
You ruined it.
Playing 27.4 minutes.
Over his last how many?
Over his last 10 games.
Okay.
Which is
Feels
certainly
more.
not bad. Yeah, because he's super impactful, right?
Yeah, he puts up numbers.
Yeah.
And he's efficient.
Yeah, that's very true. One of the things holding back Memphis is that they have the hardest strength of schedule going forward. So they've got two games against the Lakers, 2 games against the Raptors, game against the Bucks. They've got a lot of hard games coming up too. So that'll be difficult, but it'll be interesting. I hope that it is actually tighter than it is right now, because 4 games is a lot. So are we burying San Antonio now? This is going to be the first year without the playoffs?
I think we're going to save that for another pod.
What?
I will say definitively yes, they will not be in. I'm finally going to be right in saying that San Antonio is not going to make the playoffs. I've said it the last 5 years, and I'm finally going to be right.
Wait, you said it when Kawhi was still on the team? You crazy.
I guess the last year that he was injured.
Yeah, I guess.
So 3 or 4 years, whatever it is.
I thought they were going to be out last year.
Me too.
Yeah, I just looked at their schedule briefly, and I see a lot of playoff teams. I do see some easy wins, but I do see a lot of playoff teams in there. And
the Spurs actually have the 5th easiest strength of schedule.
Okay. Well, that's probably because they play Cleveland and Golden State twice.
Yeah, they're still not going to make it.
That was pretty funny.
Hey, Golden State has the 6th easiest strength of schedule. Maybe if stuff comes back, you never know.
Wait, what site are you
I'm
using?
I'm joking.
No, what site are you using, Josh?
Power Rankings Guru.
Oh, I'm on Tankathon. And we have different strength of schedules.
Oh, well
because I have San Antonio at 10, and then Golden State has the 3rd hardest schedule.
Wow, that's way off. Interesting.
Poor Golden State.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Tankathon, though. What a great name for a website. All right. For my topic that I'm going to be looking forward to, surprise, surprise, it involves the Denver Nuggets, guys. but it's more so to see who gets that second seed in the West. I think it's going to be big for Utah and Denver to really try to secure it, because I'm assuming Houston is going to take the 5th seed. They're only 2 games behind Utah of the 4 seed right now, so it's not bad. I'm pretty sure we can all agree that the Lakers will be the 1 seed. It doesn't look like they're going to slow down anytime soon. But between the Nuggets and the Jazz, they're both teams who have massive, massive home court advantages, right? Like these guys, both these teams rely on the altitude that they play in, the environment. Obviously, Utah fans are like supposed to be some of the best in the league. Denver fans are kind of non-existent, but who knows in the playoffs, maybe they'll show up. Either way, both these teams will use any advantage they can get against, teams like the Clippers or the Rockets at this point. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on, is just seeing who gets that second seed in the West.
Yeah, I mean, the 3-4 is very interesting too, because if the Clippers drop out of the top 3, you're probably going to have Clippers against Rockets in the first round, and the Clippers have struggled against the Rockets so far. And then you're going to have Lakers-Clippers in the second round, assuming that the Clippers get through the Rockets, so you get to see that matchup early. And you're going to see, one of those teams besides those 2 teams in the conference finals. So I would love to see that, to see the Clippers in the 4-5 bracket, stay in the Lakers side of the conference, and then, hopefully the Nuggets and Jazz can possibly get out of there too.
Ooh, pure chaos, man.
I don't want to see the Clippers as a second seed, so I'm hoping they sort of struggle. Coming back with, Paul George likely being out for at least a week or so. And I don't want to see their chemistry come together until April. So get them to lose a couple games before April, get them down in the standings a little bit, make things interesting.
Wait, who do you think is going to win this year? Like, win everything?
I still have the Clippers.
Okay. Raj?
I think the Clippers are going to win. I think they're a deep team. They have experience, and they have the right setup to win.
And they have the top defense against the top 8 teams in the league, in playing those games against the top, the elite of the elite. So even though they've struggled a lot against, some lesser teams overall, they're still doing pretty well. And the Raptors are actually second in defense against the top 8.
Wow. Look at that. Championship caliber teams. Basically teams that know how to turn it up for big games, is what you're telling me.
And how great would it be to see Kawhi against the Raptors in the finals? That would be amazing.
That'd be insane. I don't think it'll happen, but that would be absolutely insane.
I want to see Masai outside of, or in Jurassic Park, and he's going to bring the mic up. He's going to say, "Fuck Kawhi."
But not really.
Yeah,
but
now
thanks,
we're
Kawhi.
into Josh's fantasy.
Kawhi's a legend.
Josh's fantasy.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, man. Do we want to quickly touch on Kyrie being injured indefinitely with his mysterious shoulder pain?
He just needs to get surgery at this point. Like, enough of the cortisone shots and enough of what else they're putting in, like a horse tranquilizer. Just go get surgery, man. The season doesn't matter for the Nets anyway.
I think a trip to Germany would suffice.
Yeah, go see Kobe's old doctor.
Yeah, that's all you need. It's pretty simple. In honor of the Mamba himself, get his surgery, and then you're good.
I mean, it's already happened twice this year where he's had setbacks. I wonder what he's doing to cause these setbacks, too. Is he just, like, shooting, and then all of a sudden his shoulder just gives out again? Like, it's time, man. Just go get the surgery.
Maybe he's got that Markelle Fultz injury.
Can you imagine he comes back and his shot is just broken?
He's got the yips.
That would be awful. Oh, man. Imagine not being able to see Kyrie again. He's like the most watchable player in the NBA.
The guy who hit a Game 7 game winner in the finals. Oh,
the greatest handle of all time, too.
Ooh,
yeah,
you think
fun
so?
To watch.
Greatest of all time handle?
Yeah, I mean, who's better than Kyrie?
Wow. White chocolate? No?
No. He didn't have as many moves as Kyrie.
And also, Kyrie can get to his spot. That's the key thing. Like, not only does Kyrie have an amazing handle, like, he knows how to use his handle to get his shot.
That's true. He does get to where he wants to go all the time. And he's an amazing offensive player altogether. Like a scorer. What about Jamal Crawford? Talking about guys who create their own shot.
Yeah, but Jamal Crawford is, like, straight up ISO play. Not that Kyrie isn't, but it's just a different handle.
All right. I think so too, but I'll give it up to you guys. Anything else? Or are we good here? I think we're pretty good. Excited to see the end of the season. We got 30 games left, and then playoffs are around the corner, man. We got like less than 2 months until the playoffs start. All right. I want to thank everyone for listening. Please remember to rate and subscribe. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor, all the major podcast platforms. Hit us up on Instagram and Twitter at Stretch4Pod. And until next time, peace.